What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I am super stoked about today's video because I'm going to be creating another sole swap hybrid. The last time I did this was about 4 months ago. Make sure you check out that video linked up here. What I'll be doing today is a sole swap hybrid where I'll be attaching these Air Max 97, 98 soles to the uppers of these Adidas Ultra 4D forwards. Luckily, the Air Max 97, 98 soles have already been detached, but they still need to be prepped by removing all the old debris that still remains from the uppers. These Adidas kicks are going to need a full separation, and I'm going to need to be careful to conserve all of my different components for the rest of this project. Now that you guys have seen these things up close, let's detach these Adidas uppers from the soles. The removal of the soles from the uppers is one of the most important parts in any sole swap hybrid project. I first start by applying small hits of acetone to where the uppers meet the midsoles, and then after letting the acetone sit for several minutes, I apply boiling water and then utilize a bone folder to help to separate my surfaces from one another. You have to be careful when utilizing hot water and acetone because if you use too much, you might actually damage your components, which could cause for a problem during the actual hybridization process. After removing the uppers from the 4D forward soles, I then moved to the Air Max 97, 98 soles, and this time around I actually utilized a steam gun along with my bone folder and small hits of acetone to remove all of the remaining debris from the uppers that still was on the sole. After removing the uppers from the soles, I decided to remove the factory paint from the Air Max midsoles. I did this by taping off the air units and the outsoles and carefully trimming my tape to make sure that I had exposed all of the painted midsole. I then laid down a layer of Citrus Strip stripping gel and let it sit for a few minutes before wiping it off with a soft towel. This helped me to remove all of the factory paint from the midsoles very easily. I got into the nooks and crannies with a Q-tip, and after a few minutes I was done and was able to remove the tape. Now that the soles have been separated, it's time to get to the preparation work. For this, I'm going to be removing all of the old glue and debris from both the midsoles as well as the uppers. I'll be primarily utilizing a rotary tool, but I'll also be utilizing some cotton balls, acetone, and heat to aid with the removal of all of the old glue. To begin prepping the uppers and the soles, I first had to align the midsoles to the uppers and mark off where the glue lines would be with the heat erasable pen. This helped me to get an appropriate alignment and know where I needed to utilize my Dremel to trim down the plastic heel cup to make sure that the midsoles and the uppers were going to align properly. After using my Dremel, I broke out the acetone and cotton balls and cleared off any remaining debris that was still on the plastic heel cup, as well as any remaining factory glue. Once the plastic heel cup was prepped, I switched bits and continued Dremel work on all of the factory glue on the mesh parts of the Ultra 4Ds. For this part, I had to be especially delicate to make sure that I didn't ruin the mesh. After that, I followed up with a touch of acetone on some cotton balls to continue with the removal of any factory glue and debris. It was then time to get over to my midsole prep work, and for this I was able to use my Dremel tool for pretty much the majority of the preparation process. I did do some light touch-ups with some acetone and cotton balls, and also got in there with some Q-tips to make sure I got into all of the nooks and crannies appropriately and cleared off any remaining factory paint that was still on the midsoles. Now that the soles and the uppers have been completely prepped, it's time to add a custom paint job to the midsoles to give these things an even deeper customization. Let's get down to the repaint. I know from previous projects that it's a lot easier to do a repaint before you do your reglue, so I decided to do just that. I started by laying some masking tapes over the air units as well as over the outsoles and carefully trimming off the excess tape that was still on the midsoles. I then used several different Angelus metallic silver and gray paints to get this kind of metallic pewter color. I laid down several light layers, letting the paint dry completely between each layer before I applied some Liquid Kicks high gloss finish to give a nice protective seal in a nice silver metallic color. So far, I've made some really good progress on this pair of kicks, and these things are actually looking pretty cool. I used some Liquid Kicks high gloss finisher, and that really actually brought out the sparkle that I had in this metallic gray paint. I really like the way that this metallic silver color pops off the yellow inside of the air unit, and I think that these things are looking really solid so far. Now that you guys have seen the soles up close, it's time to get them bonded to the uppers. Let's get down to it. I start my regluing process by applying 2 coats of Barge Super Stick cement about 15 minutes apart from one another to both the midsoles and the uppers. I find that with 2 coats, I get a much more even layering of the Super Stick, and it helps with a stronger bond in the long run. After 5 to 6 hours of curing, it's time to begin the bonding process. I start this by reactivating the Super Stick cement in a small section of both the upper and the midsole to make sure that I can maintain appropriate alignment. For this project, I started at the heel to make sure that the heel cup lined up well with the midsole. After securing the heel, I moved on to the toe because it was going to make it easier to re-glue the lateral and the medial side. Utilizing pressure from my hand inside of the shoe and outside of the shoe, I was able to get a nice bond between the uppers and the medial and lateral sides, ensuring appropriate alignment throughout. I then heat activated all of the glue inside the shoe and pressed down firmly to create a strong bond. Immediately after bonding my uppers to my soles, I started with the custom paint job of the cages on the uppers. I prepped the surfaces using some acetone and cotton balls, and then mixed together some Angelus neon yellow paint and Angelus basic yellow paint to get this wonderful neon yellow color that matched the air units. Unfortunately, it took a ton of applications of this paint to get the nice deep color that you see here because the cages just did not take very well to the paint. Afterwards, using a fine tip Q-tip and some acetone, I did some touch-ups to make sure that all of my paint lines were nice and straight, and then added some Liquid Kicks high gloss finish to give these things a nice pop and a nice scratch resilient finish to withstand the elements in future wear. It took me a long time to get here, but I can happily say I am finally finished with these Ultra Boost Air Max Sole Swap Hybrid Customs. The Air Max 97-98 sole is definitely a very natural look with this specific model of Ultra Boost. For this sole swap process, I had to do a bunch of dremeling to try and even out the heel cup of the uppers. That was a bit of a challenging process to make sure that I got the lines just right, but overall, I think that everything is matching up quite nicely. The paint job is what really took forever. The midsole required a ton of coats to make sure it looked nice and even. Painting the stripes on the uppers also took a surprisingly long period of time. I'm actually pretty happy with the match of the yellow between the air bubble and the yellow of the uppers. Even though this turned out to be a really time-consuming project, it was a lot of fun and I'm really happy with the result. I'm curious to hear what you guys think though, so please let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on this sole swap hybrid. As per usual, thank you to everybody that stuck around until the cold, bitter end of this video. You guys already know, I'm Sailboat, and I'm out of here.